Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Microbrewery Podcast, where we talk about trends that are taking place in today's ever-evolving brewing industry. Today we have Justin with the Ohio Brewers Association. Justin, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Justin, can you share a little bit about your background and how you came into the brewing industry?
I got my degree is in communications. I graduated some number of years ago that I won't disclose, as evidenced by the whites in my beard here. Um, but yeah, I got into communications. I was working in corporate communications for a small company here in Ohio that did a lot of work with political campaigns and grassroots organizations. So after about 7 years of that, uh, the company downsized, and I was looking for my next challenge, and that was kind of getting into restaurants, hospitality, beer space. I ended up with a couple of partners opening a bar here in Columbus. That was back in 2015, I believe. And then, yeah, basically through that, I learned a lot about craft beer and what the breweries in Ohio were doing. Just got to know a lot of the people in the scene through the bar, and about the end of 2016, I saw that the Ohio Craft Brewers Association was looking for some staff help, especially in the communications aspects. So I thought it would be a good use of my skills and kind of like lean into the things that I was passionate about. And yeah, so I got hired by the OCBA and started in early 2017. And since then, I mean, yeah, obviously the brewing industry has changed so much from then to now, and yeah, it's been a pretty wild 8 years for me and
Sure.
for the industry. Yeah.
Yeah. And with the OCBA, would you also share a little bit of the background and how they help brewers in Ohio? Like, what do you all do,
Sure.
like a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, OCBA was started in 2008. It was run by a volunteer board of brewery owners and employees until 2013 when
Mhm.
our executive director, Mary McDonald, was hired.
Mhm.
She was the first professional staffer on in the organization, and she kind of built the infrastructure of the organization up for several years before I got hired. We went from, I think when she started, there were about 55 breweries in the state of Ohio, and now there are well over 400. So, obviously the growth of the industry kind of necessitated having a strong organization to advocate for it. What we do primarily is uh, government and regulatory advocacy. So, we're at the Ohio State House and we're talking to the Division of Liquor Control, Department of Agriculture, other regulators at the state level to make sure that the business environment for breweries is good and workable and reliable. We also do a lot of education. We have an annual conference. We just had our 10th annual conference. You were there. Thanks for coming to that. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
We do it's a 3 day conference with educational tracks. I think we had 30 educational seminars, big trade show for vendors who support the industry to come and show their wares off to Ohio brewers. We do a lot of marketing on behalf of breweries. We do an annual magazine. We have a passport app that we'll talk about later. We do events for breweries, to help showcase their stuff. And then we just kind of keep everybody connected. We try to keep everybody keep everybody rowing in the same direction for the most part. Kind of serve as a unified voice for breweries in the state.
Yeah, it's good that you could all be connected in that way, and how the brewers can they have uh, a little bit better of a voice, and people and you guys helping all of them in that way. Um, so with everything happening in today's industry, it could be hard to, there's a lot of competition, and there's also different trends. So I guess as your association, how do you guys stay up with like latest trends and innovations in the
Uh,
brewing industry?
I mean, as for what we do, we're as an organization, our purpose is to educate and to advocate and to connect and so as far as like, we're as a staff, like our staff of three people, we're not going to be, like keeping track of every new yeast strain or every new like brewing process or things like that.
Mhm.
We kind of keep the 10,000 foot view of the industry and how we compare to other states. A lot of what we do, um, we will kind of check our notes against our peers in other state organizations. Like I see you've
Mhm.
got the Think NY, Drink NY bag back there behind you. Like we're really good friends with the New York State Brewers Association.
Mhm.
We share a lot of ideas and notes between us and other states. We have we talk to each other on a weekly or not weekly, but like a monthly basis.
Mhm.
In an organized call, and we stay connected with the National Brewers Association also to just make sure that we're all familiar with what everybody's working toward on different state levels. Like some of it's not applicable in Ohio, um but there are things that we do that are applicable to others, and there are things that they're doing that we've taken a lot of really good ideas that sprouted in other states and planted them here in Ohio and watched them grow into something. Like we have, just for an example, we're on our fifth year of our statewide collaboration beer. We call From the Heart. We get ingredients donated from hops and malt suppliers. One of our breweries usually, comes up with a recipe. We've got a label company that donates labels to the cause.
Mhm.
And then we usually get, somewhere between 50 and 75 Ohio breweries that all like brew a variation on the same beer. And we've been doing that for 5 years as a fundraiser for OCBA. And that's something that other states had success with. And it was when we were looking for alternatives to festival revenue, back during COVID,
Mhm.
trying to figure out ways to, keep our organization afloat. That was one that we ran with and was really successful for us. And actually, we've got custom glassware for that and everything, with our little logo here, our astronaut. But yeah, the things like that, ways that we can help our breweries promote themselves
Mhm.
while at the same time, like keeping our organization sustainable.
Cool. Yeah, I've been noticing from time to time, you mentioned collabs, different collabs with breweries, and it's a way that they could just share ideas, and innovate with each other in that way too. Um, I know a big topic today with breweries is sustainability and using eco-friendly practices. I know you mentioned you worked at the bar previously, um, but I guess what would be your word of advice when it comes to sustainability and best practices?
We actually have our own sustainability committee
Oh.
that we've got brewers and allied trade partners that kind of come together and talk once a month about what we can do to help make the industry more sustainable and get environmental stewardship like on people's minds.
Mhm.
We've developed a metrics tracker for our breweries to use. It's, free of charge, for any of our members. You basically just input, your energy use costs, your water costs, any of your utilities. You can put into this tracker and just kind of see because you can baseline what you're doing now, and then as you implement sustainability practices that we also, we put out resources for breweries to use about that. You know, as you implement those practices, you can see what effect it's having on your bottom line.
Hmm.
in the in your usage of energy and water and your other utilities. So
Hmm.
like that's a big one. Um, as an organization, we're we don't have an office, so like we don't we're not taking up and we're not heating an office that sits empty 16 hours a day. So the three of us all work from home. We carpool as much as we can. We do what we can from our in our small group to to try and keep ourselves sustainable.
Hmm. And I know you mentioned uh, you're being like an advocate and kind of a voice for the different breweries and interacting in that way. Uh, Different breweries, they also interact with their community around them. How do you guys interact with your community? Um, and I guess statewide too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we do is on behalf of the breweries. So like I mentioned earlier, we have our Ohio on Tap Passport app
Sure.
to reach out to craft beer fans and encourage travel around the state, in beer tourism, people going to visit breweries in another part of Ohio that they maybe wouldn't get to that are pretty far from where they live. But like there's such great beer being made all over the place.
Hmm.
So, we're trying to raise, we're trying to raise awareness of breweries and the great work that they're doing in all corners of the state, not just in central Ohio or around Cincinnati or around Cleveland. There's really fantastic beer being made everywhere in this state. And like we're trying to get people from the places that you think of in Ohio to go to the places that you don't think of in Ohio and just kind of stimulate tourism and promote those communities, promote all of the communities that have breweries in them through the use of this app. Yeah, and that's one of the things we do. I mean, we do events also to raise awareness for our brewers. But like as far as our marketing efforts go and like our public outreach, our app, our social media at Ohio Craft Beer, we do a weekly kind of news roundup of like things that are happening at breweries around the state that we send out to everybody's emails on Friday mornings. We do a lot of public outreach, and we try to keep everybody in the loop about what we're doing, even from a legislative advocacy position. Like right now, we're trying to change a the law that governs distribution or beer distribution or the contracts between breweries and beer distributors that's
Hmm.
been on the books for 50 years that has over time really started to slant toward like heavily favoring distributors to the point where if you're a small brewery and you sign a contract with a distributor, you're basically locked in with them for life. The joke is that it's easier to get a divorce in Ohio than it is to get out of your beer distribution contract. Um, th when the law was enacted 50 years ago, it made sense because there were only giant breweries and there were a bunch of small family-owned distributors. Fast forward now, we've got 400 something breweries in the state. We've got about 2 dozen beer distributors left that have all consolidated over time into these very, very large, very powerful companies. And the whole point of that law was to protect small business, and now it's being used to hurt small business. So, we reach out to craft beer fans to make sure that they're aware of these kind of behind the scenes legal and the legislative things that nobody really thinks about how beer gets to market, like how it ends up on a store shelf or how it ends up on tap at their local bar.
Hmm.
But we think about that, and we want to make sure that the breweries that we represent have a fair shake when it comes to competition in the market.
Sure. And you know, pre and post COVID, across the U.S., there's so many breweries that are just popping up. There's some that have been in existence for a pretty long time and pretty new ones too. So I guess there could be a lot of competition amongst each other. And it could go to the point where even like they're just trying to get creative and creating like uh usually breweries were for like 18 and or 21 and older type people, but now they're inviting families to come, children along too, and pets and stuff. Um, so the brewing industry is ever evolving. How do you see the future of the brewing industry? And then from that, how do you plan to evolve within that space as well?
Well, I think the thing that's most important is to recognize that craft beer is not a niche product anymore. Craft beer
Yeah.
is a mainstream product. Like everyone knows what craft beer is.
Hmm.
Everyone sees it on a shelf, whether they drink it or not. Like everyone knows what it is now. And that was a major struggle for a long time, is just, getting past well, this is new, this is novel, this is like something for this very small group of people, and turning that into what it has become, which is a mainstream product. Like I like to use the example that in you know films and TV shows, it used to be somebody walks into a bar and they order a beer on and nondescript beer from the bartender, and now you see somebody walking into the bar and ordering an IPA, nondescript IPA, but still, like that's indicative of the fact that this is, the craft beer is a mainstream thing. It's part of our culture.
Hmm.
And I don't see that going away. I think there's going to be a shift, maybe, in the industry as a whole, but like watching this market mature to the point where craft beer is something that everyone knows. I think that's the thing we need to remember going forward. Like the number of the number of stories that come out about the industry, or spending on beer going down and the industry suffering because Gen Zs don't drink, or what there there's always going to be shifts in consumer priorities.
Hmm.
Like that's inevitable in any industry. uh you know if anybody got into craft beer thinking like this is going to be a rocket ship to the moon for the rest of my life, like that's just not realistic. Like that's not realistic business. Where we are now is breweries have to differentiate themselves from their competition,
Hmm.
uh, from other breweries, from big beer, from cocktails, from THC beverages, from like any possible competitor.
Hmm.
Uh, and like you said, a lot of breweries read that as I want to make this a family-friendly environment, or we want to we're going to focus a lot on our food program, to bring in people, who want really excellent food to go with the beer that we make.
Hmm.
Or, you know, we've got a brewery here in Columbus that sets up a keg curling rink and ice bumper cars every winter. They transform their outdoor space into like a winter wonderland, right? It's about finding something that fits with your vision, fits with your brand, that's authentic to who you are,
Hmm.
and selling people on the experience. Yeah, I want to say everyone makes great beer. Obviously, there's some breweries that that maybe do it better than others.
Hmm.
Uh, but like the bar for good beer has, like, everyone knows where it is, and everyone shoots to get over that bar. Uh, so to the point where, like I said, there's tiny little breweries in corners of Ohio that are making some of the best beer in the state, and you wouldn't think of it because, there's the preconceived notion that, it's like, if you're not in one of the major cities, like, there's not that much attention on you. But like
Hmm.
if you go out and seek it, you're going to find it. And the quality of the product has to stay high, but the experience is the thing that's going to differentiate you.
Mhm.
When people go to the brewery, uh, or or pick your product off a shelf, or go to their local bar and choose your beer over somebody else's. It's because you have to connect with them on a personal level, and you have to make your beer, make your product feel like it's some feel like part of their life, like that their story is intertwined with your story. Yeah. And that's those are the kind of things that we talk to our breweries about, in our conferences, in the resources that we put out. Is just, these are the things you need to do to compete in this industry in 2025. And you know, as much as we can maintain the feel of this industry, which has been very cooperative and very collaborative,
Mhm.
uh, and but also make sure that our breweries know that they need to work very hard to make sure that what they offer the public is unique and differentiate themselves from everybody else in the marketplace. It's it's a tough balance, and it's something that yeah, that's when I get out of bed in the morning. This is what I think about. This is what I work on all day. This is, how can I help these 400 small businesses succeed?
Well, that definitely opens up a bigger perspective, and I appreciate your insight and thoughts today. Again, thank you for being on the show this afternoon. And folks, be ready next time for our next episode of the Microbrewery Podcast.